be talking about solar cooking with Michael Mora from the Solar Cookers International. Michael's going to tell us about the basic concepts of solar cooking. Okay, so let's talk about some of the more serious work that Solar Cookers International is doing in the developing countries. There are a myriad of very important issues that the introduction of solar cookers is really helping those people with. Maybe we can start with some environmental issues.
Right, and one of the main environmental issues with solar cookers and the deployment of solar cookers is addressing the issue of deforestation and environmental degradation. So, for example, around some of the refugee camps in Darfur and East Africa and other places, we are seeing an ever-widening gyre of environmental destruction, the almost complete elimination of any useful wood resources. So also, too,
and that's from people using the wood for fuel.
Right. Typically, it's women and young girls and children who have to walk maybe several miles a day to find wood, usable wood to cook with, going further and further away from camp. They're also subjected to being predated upon by the most dangerous kind of predator, which is the two-legged predators.
Criminals.
Criminals, yes.
So you're addressing very serious safety issues, too.
Very serious personal safety issues.
And there are some health aspects that solar cookers help with.
Right. Typically, the traditional cooking fires in very many parts of the developing world are open fires. So all of the smoke goes into the living space. Children near an open fire sometimes will stumble over them or into them and get burnt. There are respiratory problems, serious respiratory problems. It's estimated that there are 2 to 3 million people a year who die from respiratory disease from exposure to cooking smoke. And then there's also the eye problems, eye diseases that come from being constantly exposed to all of the byproducts of cooking smoke.
So this is literally life-saving technology.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And also with the solar cookers, they don't have to be, well, they can't be in the house. So you're also eliminating all of those fumes from being trapped in the house.
Right. And a wonderful thing about a solar cooker is that it also gives the user time so that instead of spending those hours per day searching for firewood, then suddenly a mother, her kids have time for personal care, for education, for home crafts that might generate more income for the family. So there's a number of things that solar cookers provide. You put your food in it in the morning, you set it out, and your biggest concern typically in say at the village level might be the goats eating it, especially if it's one of the simpler kinds of solar cookers like one this, made out of cardboard. The goats will eat it.
Oh my. And there are also financial advantages for folks in the developing countries.
Yes, instead of, the main one, of course, is getting your time back, but the other one is that very often, if people don't have access to a woodlot, even walking miles to get it, will have to buy charcoal from the charcoal sellers. And the process of making charcoal is extremely destructive and inefficient. And usually the charcoal makers are quite heedless about where they're getting their wood resources and how they're using them. So for the cost of charcoal, a person can make the modest payments, hopefully, on a solar cooker as an alternative fuel.
And I guess it sounds like the cost of fuel is actually a significant amount of their income.
Yes. Oh, yes, definitely. In fact, in some cases, in some countries now, it's as much as 50% of family income.
Oh, my goodness.
It's crushing.
All right, I wanted to also talk about the water purification that you can do in the solar cookers.
We were all taught, probably in Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts or in biology class, that you have to boil water for 3 minutes at 212 degrees Fahrenheit or 100 degrees centigrade. For pasteurization purposes, for example, when we pasteurize milk, when it's commercially pasteurized, it's brought up to about 149 degrees. we can get rid of about 95% of the disease-causing pathogens by bringing water up to about 150, 160 degrees Fahrenheit. And that takes care of most of the disease-causing pathogens.
And you also had a device.
We have a device. One of our main aspects of our outreach in the developing world is this device. It's called the Water Pasteurization Indicator, or WAPI for short. And you'll notice at this end of it, there's a little white plug of soy wax. It's designed to melt at 160 degrees. So at the end of the day, if you have this in your pot of water, at the end of the day you would come back and you would find this plug of wax at the bottom of this little glass envelope. And that would tell you that the water actually reached those pasteurization temperatures. And it has a little string here so you can flip it over for the next day's use.
And you can reuse it. That's fantastic.
It's 100% reusable.
Now, I'm thinking that something so simple and accessible could be really useful in my disaster kit.
Definitely.
Thank you very much, Michael. It's been so interesting, and I've learned a lot from you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Bite Size Green. I'm Angelina Le Grix. Happy solar cooking. See you next time.